Hello everyone, welcome to the Commando Cast. I'm Andrew.
And I am Mike, and today we're going to talk about Darth Vader. I was hoping you were going to do that.
Alright guys, so Darth Vader, Terror to Behold, has been literally terrorizing our local meta as of late. And then the big news was this last weekend at a regional, Vader Greedo versus who, Mike?
Vader Greedo.
Yeah, so, you know, going in, they knew it was going to win. So, with this, we want this to be the Vader episode. So we're going to talk about not only why he's good, but the different archetypes, and then what people can do to try to counter him. So, Mike, you actually have way more experience playing Vader than I do, so why don't you kind of take us away?
Yeah, so Vader, I was lucky enough to pull a couple Vaders early on in this set, so I got a chance to play him right away. So I have run two versions of Vader. One with Vader Jawa, which was like my original one.
And that's with the Retribution plot, right?
Yeah, Retribution plot. And David was running that deck, I believe, at a...
Oh yeah, lately. Yeah, so a week and a half ago at Gongai, David Freeman was running the Vader Jawa.
His was much better than mine, but it was still running it, and it was very good.
That video is available on the Dice Commando channel.
Yes. And then I've run the other version, which is the one where I probably spend the most time talking about, which is the yellow version with Greedo. So it is an amazing deck. Huge damage sides. Access to yellow gives you all kinds of tricks.
And I think that's really the key, right? Yeah. Is the access to yellow. Yeah. So let's go ahead and start. So there's really three different versions out there. There's I haven't actually seen a mono blue Vader. I'm sure there's probably a theory one out there where you could run him in Bitter Rivalry and somebody, I suppose. Right?
Yeah, I'm sure there's like an 8-point. Like you could run guard,
ones, but yeah. Anyway, the one we're specifically talking about, there's the red version where you can run either the droid and Retribution, or you can run a First Order Stormtrooper. Right. I think probably the droid version's better for the red.
Yeah, because since you're just going to kill the character anyway.
Right, and Retribution seems pretty good.
Yeah.
And then the advantage of running red versus the other colors is you get essentially damage soaker. So you can run best defense, you can run cannon fodder, crash landing, and just suck all that damage and put it on the guy that you're going to murder anyway. And then the other one that's pretty good is Electro Staff. Right. Electro Staff is pretty much the only reason to run red, I would think.
That's the one that it makes the pay side on Vader free.
Right, so Electro Staff is all modified sides, but the die that's being modified by the Electro Staff becomes free. Right.
And I've been stuck with a lot of Vader dice on the table for one, and I didn't have any money to pay for it.
So I think there's a very good argument to be made for the red version. Sure. It does seem to be the least popular of the three. Mike, I know you you actually brought it up on here. Jacqueline, you saw a pilot at the first time running the Jawa version, which seems pretty good. So why don't you give us a rundown of that?
So, shocker here, but the reason why the Jawa version is so good is Theed Palace. I know, right? So you basically start the game with 3 resources because of Theed. So you're instantly able to, so in minigames...
Vader has a hard time winning roll-offs.
Right. So the first turn of that deck a lot of times is Power Action Theed, and then I'll Respite the Jawa immediately. So I start the game with 4 plus an extra card draw. So
and on top of that, Respite, and there's a card, I forget the name, but there's a card from the draft kit that does exactly the same thing. So you essentially have 4 copies in your deck of a card that is, spot a gray character.
Right. Remove their die to gain a buck. Yeah,
I mean, that's...
I just think if that 4 dice start allows you to play Vader's lightsaber and pay for your 4 for 1, like off the bat. So it's...
Or roll a Vader die back in with the lightsaber.
Right. I also had several games of that where I would do that. I would power action, respite, take my 4 resources, and then after my opponent was done gawking at me and took their action, I'd roll in Vader and get his 2 resources, immediately do that, and then play Vader's Fist turn 1 with a resource left to resolve it with. So I mean, it has a lot of. I feel like it's a little more laser focused. Like the yellow version has more tools at its disposal, and it's trickier. Where the blue gray version is much more. I'm going to use this word a lot, but it's inevitable. Like you just can't get out of its way. Like it will do what it's going to do, and there's very little you can do to stop it.
So and we'll go way more in depth on the yellow version as we talk, because I mean I think we think that's probably the stronger version. That said, the gray version seems way faster up front.
Yeah.
For exactly what Mike just outlined, right? You can get down a bunch of stuff to begin, and if Vader, I mean, what's the cap on that, right? 4 resources turn 1 enables a Vader saber,
right. So that's
and a 4-side, so you could potentially hit for 10 or 11. And actually, it's probably more than that if you actually don't do a 4-side and then re-roll in after doing the damage with Vader saber.
So if you did a 3-3-3,
sure,
right? That's 9. Pay the
and then
1.
A 3 again.
An extra damage for 10.
So 13 damage is your cap.
Yeah, and
that's pretty good.
That's going to end most games, and that's assuming your opponent has decided not to play any removal on you, of course. But
I think most people understand we're going max in that situation. But I mean, your cap with that deck is 13 damage. Your cap with the Greedo version is not.
And I will say, if we've learned anything from Sabine, Ezra, all those months, seems like years ago, it was damage cap and potential just a nut roll is important in a competitive deck. You want to have sometimes you just want to roll and kill somebody. Like just, I did it. I didn't have to work hard. I just did it. Yay, me.
Yeah, I mean, when one of the best players in the game is bringing Sabine Ezra to Worlds, I mean, I think that's pretty clear that damage burst is pretty important. Right?
The yellow version, since I know you want to talk about the yellow version a lot.
Yeah, that's the one. I mean, Vader Greedo versus Vader Greedo in a regional with a lot of people. Not to mention the fact that Alex has been beating everybody up with that version. Right.
But
let's go into that.
Free removal, more free removal, because you're already running hidden motive. Obviously, you're also running. He doesn't like you. It gives you access to bait and switch. Which is I tell you,
I don't know about that one. Vader's 2 resources.
If
might
I have
even
a chance,
be his best side.
If I have a chance to kill you, though, it's like
no argument.
There's a lot of talk about whether you should be running Force Strike or not. Force Strike costs 1, and if you hit the 4, it's going to end up costing you 2. In essence, 2 resources. Or the bait and switch, I feel is a little bit like it.
But I don't think it comes Force striking to the 4. But
if you need to,
of course,
right. But I do feel like the bait and switch is a powerful card, and the main reason is that you have to play around it as an opponent. Like you have to treat have to treat that resource as it could be damage sides, and that's a problem.
That's a fair point. So my personal opinion, I think the biggest reason the yellow version's the strongest version is Friends in High Places.
Right.
Friends in High Places, because a good Friends in High Places can just make all those resources that the Jawa made irrelevant. Right.
And I mean, and I think we've been talking. Other people have talked about this as well. A turn 1 Vader's Fist is a backbreaker. Like it's just
even a dark saber.
Yeah, dark saber. I mean, there's just so many good cards that you could run with that, and you're going to hit something. You're either going to hit the second copy of Friends in High Places and hit and go back through again, or you're going to hit one of those things. I mean, you'd have to have pretty bad luck. Would you run just 4 of the high cost things, or would you run more so there was a more dense?
I hadn't actually been. I mean, I have very limited experience playing Vader. He just hasn't really appealed to me. But you draw 5 cards. There's a Friends in High, another Friends in High. Yeah, I think you only need a maximum of 6.
Because you're getting 11 cards. You're getting to look at 11 cards, right? With 2 Friends in High Places plus the 5 that you start the game with.
Yeah, but you're assuming that you're friendsing into a Friends, though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's possible, but I mean,
but you're saying that that's worst case. So I see what you're saying. So. Yeah, I think between 4 and 6. I mean, it's really the same argument that we've made for some others. Like we were talking about Mace Windu and how many upgrades you need. Right. And to be clear, when I went back and actually did the real math on that, it's not 99%. It was 98.3%.
Oh,
my bad.
Oh my gosh!
Sorry.
I can't work with you. You're going to be this inaccurate.
But yeah, I think probably you need to have 6. But again, Vader's lightsaber you're running too, right? So you're probably running
and you're not
either
sad.
Vader or Mauls.
Right.
So it's like I just friends in high places and I got a free Mauls.
Right, because I always forget
Vaders.
that.
Like,
it doesn't matter what you get for free; it's still free.
Right. I mean, a couple weeks back, Alex brought it, and I was playing against him, and he friends and high actually into horrible draw, but he friends and hide into 2 price of failures, and he was like, "Okay." Right? So I mean, you know, you friends a high into a 0, but you just reset Vader. So
that definitely is. It's one of those decks that it's so easy to friends in high places. Like, you are naked alone without a single upgrade. You have a very good chance of getting it, especially if Greedo rolls anything. You have a really good chance.
And, you know, I mean, to be fair, one of the featured matches on Dice Commando, which is a new thing that we've started doing, which is where I put the die symbols on there. We have actually, it's Alex playing his Vader Greedo deck. And there were a lot of times where there was a lot of 2s on the table. So, yeah, you're at 6. Because it's not uncommon. So I think the Vader Saber actually has a 1, it's a base 1, and then a 2. So it's not uncommon that you have 6 on the table your first turn. So I'm sorry you can't friends in high places on your first roll, your first turn, but you can solve that problem pretty easy, right?
Ancient fixes that real quick,
and if you friends on high for an Ancient for free, that's not horrible either, right? So I don't know. I really think that's kind of the key to that deck, and I think that's why that deck's so much better.
Yeah, I certainly think it's good. I don't think it... I mean, if you're playing yellow, you better be playing friends in high places. I don't think that card makes the yellow version so much better than the gray that it's not viable.
Well, no, it's that. I mean, you already spoke to the other tricks. It's that plus the other tricks. Like, there's no...
I actually think in a mirror match, I favor the gray version over the yellow version because it's faster.
In the mirror match, sure, because you get the
in the Vader match, I'd rather have the Jawa than Greedo.
Yeah, and actually, I would love to actually see the stream, or I probably doesn't want to exist, but I would love to have seen a video of the Vader Greedo from the championship like that.
And I wonder if it went 3.
That's what I'm saying. I wonder if it was
three,
just like a
close.
blowout or whatever.
Because I mean, it could have come down to the die roll for the battlefield, right?
Oh, whoever got Thief.
Yeah, because if you win in a best of 3, if you win and you take it, and then you give them the battlefield, they win,
and then
you get
it back.
You get it back, right? And that's a massive advantage.
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Anyway, if anybody has a link to that, shoot us. We'd love that.
Share it in the comments.
So we've basically been sitting here and touting how good Vader is, and that's not exactly groundbreaking. But the question is, as someone who's played Vader, right, I want to know how to beat it. So what do you not like to see as someone playing Vader?
Okay, so here are the things that panic me when I play my Vader. Mm-hmm. I get panicked when my opponent has resources. I know this is weird. And the reason is if they take me off 1 die, so they overconfidence me, right? I roll a 4 and a 3. They overconfidence me into 2 resources and 2 shields, right? They take my resources, leave me with a shield. I immediately power action to get my other die back in.
So now you're afraid they're going to remove both your die.
Or just my best die. So I really fear high removal. And I know everyone's like afraid to remove Vader's dice, but I think having a high amount of removal is very scary as a Vader, like to me, because you have so many points invested in one thing. Like, and you can't get friends at high places off if your best die is not on the table every time.
Sure. Well, yeah, you can't get there with 3 2s.
Right. So it's that frightens me. And I also think, and the inverse of that is, as a Vader player, I would fear your Han Biggs deck because it could easily hit me for 10 damage round 1
and then jump.
And then hit me again round 2 and the game is over. Right. Like, I didn't even get a chance. Yeah, and jump 2, I mean, that's another problem. But I mean, the fact that it's a heavy aggro deck and it's fast, it can hit me before I have a chance to start being offensive, and then I have to spend my money defending myself as opposed to murdering your characters.
Sure. Well, and I think there's a skill, I mean, yeah, huge statement. There's skill in playing, right? But I think there's a skill, like if you go back and look at the, week and a half ago, the match I played versus David, a lot of the times I elected to just take damage to the face to maintain tempo, right? So punch. It's basically at that point it just becomes a punch each other in the face and who's left standing afterwards, right? But there's other decks that are much slower that can't do that, and that's where I think you're right. I think they maybe have to give up a turn of no removal so that they can keep 2 removal cards in their hands. So they can wipe out your next turn, right? So I think there's a lot of skill in learning how to play that, and that's having these sort of discussions I think helps people learn
in
situations.
Vader, for as chunky as he is a very, if you think about it, functionally, the deck has very little health if the Vader player wants to kill their partner to price of failure. So you're really looking at 19 damage if they've cycled 2 Ancients. And
they play Force Illusion.
Yeah, and if that hurts. But yes, they do play Force Illusion because the name of the game is to keep Vader alive. So, I mean, it is not a heavy... I mean, it hits hard, but I wouldn't call it a glass cannon because you're not going to blow it out one turn.
No, it is not a glass cannon. No.
You're never going to take Vader. If you can get Vader off the table round 1, please send me a video of that. I would love to see someone.
Yeah. No, and Vader's actually funny from the mentality of it, right? So, again, the reason I'm talking about the David matches is because that's the last one I played versus Vader in a competitive mindset, right? But I actually had so much... I killed him last turn, and I did not realize he died when I shot him. Like I didn't realize I had lethal on the table because you get in this mindset of Vader's just this huge tank and you just need to keep pounding into him. And I actually had lethal showing. And he's like, "Good game," and I was like, I mean, it's not like I wasn't going to shoot him. It's not like it changed the game.
It just surprised you.
It's just I was like, oh yeah, he is at 12. Like he's dead. Right. And I mean that goes to what you were saying. Like he's a tank, and you're not going to blow him out first turn.
And
I still think killing the minion, if you can one-shot the minion,
where they don't know it's coming. I'll tell you, the deck is highly beatable. It is highly beatable by many different decks. Just today, I was watching on TTS. I saw some fellow content creators testing.
You mean the Hyperloops?
Maybe.
Yeah.
And
whatever. We're all good. We're all friends here.
And they were playing Mill versus Vader. And
Vader lost to Mill?
Oh, Millpocalypse just annihilated annihilated the Vader player like twice in a row. And the second game was
force jump.
Force jump.
Yeah.
Force jump.
All right.
Force jump. So, I don't. You guys talk about it in your own video, but it was pretty amazing. So I think the deck has several weaknesses, but what makes the deck fun and what makes it competitive is it has the ability to do so much damage up front. It is it has a lot of hit points. So I don't think it's unfair. I think it's great, and I can tell you
it's not unfair.
As many people have been running it locally and then nationally, I don't think I've heard a single person even whisper the nerf, and that's one of the things I think plagues our game.
We did have one gentleman comment on one of my videos that Vader's OP, but other than that, I mean, and this is the internet people, so, right? But yeah. I haven't had a huge problem with Vader. I mean, the thing is, Vader can just win, right, and it's Destiny. Things happen. I think Vader's more prone to that happening. Right. But I mean, if Vader rolls in 7 damage on the first turn, like.
But I have 7. I have 7 health. I mean, health is a resource. Like I mean.
Yeah, but the problem is when he does that on turn 2.
Correct. Right. Yeah. When he does it 2 turns in a row, that's a problem.
Or when he rolls in 7 damage, friends in high places, get his upgrade down, and then rolls in for 13.
I just feel like anytime in our game when there is a strong character, a powerful archetype, the initial reaction is almost always from the crowd.
You mean our game being our community?
Yeah, is nerfed like immediately, and I don't think people. I don't feel like there's
a difference between people being, upset about, let's go back to Awakenings, right?
Oh my gosh!
People being upset about Django Veers versus people being upset about Vader.
Right.
And I'm talking OG Vader.
Right.
Like, there's a huge difference there.
Good times.
I mean, ways to play around in both, which I think is directly applicable to what we're talking about. So
as powerful as he is and as bad as it can feel sometimes because he just hits you so hard. There are a lot of ways around it. And again, if it becomes so popular, the meta is going to correct itself. People are going to start teching against it, and then they'll tech against it. They'll beat it for a couple weekends in a row, and then people will slow down on it. People go other directions. Someone will bring back a Vader when people aren't tech to it. And whip somebody.
But that's why the word meta exists.
And it's my favorite part of the game.
Yes. You like the game within the game. I like value. I like all that. So, and that's why we're a good podcast.
Right, absolutely.
But speaking of countering, we actually had this discussion on our own internal boards, and you and I were actually debating on it a bit. Coercion.
Okay.
Right? That seems to be the supposed silver bullet. Is it, though?
So, I would say at the time of our internet argument, what I was trying to gather was how useful is coercion against other decks, right? Because you're not going to be playing Vader 7 times.
Very little.
So I packed coercion into my Saturday tournament deck. And I did not see a Vader one time, mostly because I dropped my first game, right? I mean, but that was like I didn't see Vader.
We only had one Vader there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, didn't see David.
As opposed to the week before where we had 3 Vaders.
But I played it 0 times, and mainly because every time I had it in my hand, I would think to myself, "Is this resource worth the chance that I'm going to hit my opponent with a coercion that's going to make them play a event that they don't want to play? Is it worth my $1?" That was the problem. Was that $1 was so because I was running it in both.
It's not just $1. It's $1 and a card from your hand,
right? And a card that I could have been something else,
right? And a deck slot, right? So but that's the tech value, right? The actual in-game value is 1 resource and a card from your hand. And actually, I am unsure whether at the time of this video being posted, whether the value episode will be posted or not, but I recommend you watch it. But think about that, right? If you are making them, let's say you coercion them and they're playing an overconfidence for no effect, or some other spot card or whatever, or even an electroshock, right? Unless they're electroshocking their own die, in which case there's value there, you're trading a resource and a card from hand for a resource and a card from hand.
Right.
So there's really no value, because I'm assuming that you, Mike, are smart enough to make them use something that's going to be for little or minimal effect. Basically just making them waste. But then you've wasted 2 effective resources for them to waste 2 and change resources that may not even actually impact
on my time versus theirs. But the issue was, like in testing, I would coercion. I would look at my opponent's hand, and all the only events they'd have was removal. So I'd be like, okay, I'll pick overconfidence, and then they just go pass, 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 and then eventually I roll my dice in. Right. They wait until I roll my dice in, and then they play it because they can just wait on it.
Sure.
Like, I mean, if I hit him at the end of the round, or that's the real problem I have.
Let's take a quick minute here. So coercion, I've already put up at this point, but the ruling on coercion is that so what coercion does is it makes you can go into your opponent's hand, choose something that they have to play as their next action. However, it has been ruled that passing is not considered to be an action because you are not taking an action by passing. Therefore, as Mike's saying, they can choose to pass instead of taking an action so they don't have to play it. So the dream would be to go into their hand and let's say they have a die in the pool and you make them play like an electroshock. So they would have to actually play and then actually remove their own die. That's the dream. However, it has since been ruled, since that card's come out, which was, I think, Empire at War, that you can continue to pass. So like Mike said, they can continue to pass. So either Mike has to pass and then the turn ends and then the loser was Mike.
All right, the loser was me.
That's not really, that's it. That's it. Or he rolls in and gets his die removed for that effect. So either way, the loser was Mike.
What I felt like was after I was done testing with it and playing with it is that it was absolutely astoundingly harmful to Darth Vader and Greedo. But
that's about it.
Yeah, it was about it. Now, I remember there being other decks, like I want to say in the Legacies meta, Sean was running it, and I can't remember like what the circumstance.
He was running it in Boba 7. No, he did it to me. I remember in one specific tournament, him and we were over at PGS, Portland Game Store, great place. They actually have beer on tap and cider, if you're Sean, on tap. He made me play Retreat.
Okay.
And then he got to claim. I blew a card from my hand, 2 resources, and he got to claim, and then roll out Boba 7 and just Boba 7 me. Right.
Okay.
So.
All right.
So yeah, maybe in the Flyboys, it's like, go ahead and jump. Next turn.
Right. Before you've done anything,
just please jump.
Right.
So I could see that. Right. But I agree. I think in the current meta we're looking at, by and large, I mean, play it against Jyn Cassian. Like, what does Jyn Cassian have?
I could see it being good on a Commando raid prior to rolling out Jyn, like an action one, because they always
because then you can't resolve the die; it would just go away.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So fair enough.
But again, I'm trading one card.
Destiny really needs to change their card play order thing. That's whatever. It's different.
So I do, but when you put it mathematically,
I see what you're saying.
When you say, because you're right, I spent a card on a resource to make you spend a card on a resource. Now, the only thing that really the value I got out of it was I got rid of a really nasty card, right? But can I do the same thing with friends in low places most of the time?
No. Ooh.
Like if I wanted that Commando raid,
I'd have to read that card.
I can friends in low places, look at your hand and discard it, and then I spent no resources. I mean, to me, that's a better like if my ultimate goal was to get rid.
If you can combine, that is the other dream, right? You have Philp, friends in low places, and you have coercion, right? So then you know what you're getting into, right? But when you were talking, it just reminded me of another point. So coercion does say if able. So for those of you who are thinking about teching it, make sure that you understand that the if able means that if you choose something they can't pay for, then it nullifies that effect, right? So like if they only have one resource and you choose an entangle, it doesn't matter. By it fizzles, coercion fizzles, not entangle, right? So make sure you're doing that appropriately. So all right, I think we've put that one.
Yeah, absolutely good.
So. Another card I want to talk about that gives yellow huge power, I think, is No Good to Me Dead.
Yeah.
So can you summarize that card first?
Yeah, so No Good to Me Dead is a 0-cost yellow event that says heal a character for up to 2 damage and then gain resources.
An opponent's character.
Yeah, an opponent's character. Gain resources equal to the amount that you healed, up to 2. So remember when we talked about the Jawa, I thought one of the power plays was to power action feed and then respite to get your 4 resources. Well, this gives the yellow character the ability to do that without having to, hit feed and go again. Like they can do that. When I played it, I rolled Greedo out and put 2 damage on somebody. Like if you get lucky and hit with Greedo, and then immediately turn around and heal it and gain 2 more resources. Right. Super strong.
Because most people aren't going to commit resources to removing Greedo's die. Right.
Yeah. Although I have found, and just in a caveat, I actually like removing Greedo's die because it keeps me
can't be rolled back in.
Right. So I definitely hate taking 2 guns from Greedo. That seems like a really bad place to get it.
Yeah. So is the answer, and this of course sucks for the blue-red players out there, but is the answer to Vader Philp? Because we've basically specified that all of the strength of Vader lies in his events. And all the events that we're specifying, aside from coercion, which is actually we spent way too long on, but anti-Vader tech. Is Philp just an auto-include in a yellow deck now? Not like it probably wasn't anyway.
Right, but it certainly has. I think it has some extra value.
Price of failure too.
Yeah, if you look at the Vader lists that have Greedo in it, very few of them run anything more than 1 cost. I mean, there's Fear and Dead Men is a 2 cost, and they might run. Rise Again.
Oh, they certainly run Rise Again, which also feels really good on Friends and I places.
Right. So
if I felt and an upgrade,
the other 16 or 15 events in their decks are meant for overconfidences, respites, like 4 strikes if you're running 4 strike in your deck. So like Philp is not only is it against Vader, but it's so flexible, it's good against everybody. So whereas coercion is good in a very small window, but super powerful, Philp is universally useful.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of decks out there in which, because Friends in All Places is limited to 1.
Right.
So there are a lot of decks. Yeah, 1 or 0. But my point is, there's a lot of, you can know that they're going to hyperspace jump you, and that kind of stinks, right? So, for the hero side, I could see running Scruffy instead. Maybe run both. Right. But, yeah, I don't know. So, what are the bad matchups then for Vader, right? So we've been talking about how to tech against him. What could you just come to the tournament with and run against Vader?
Okay, so, and again, this deck is not competitive, but I think decks built like it. So when I was running Palp loose, I really tore up my Vader opponent because it was...
Did you ever pull off a snare?
I did. I pulled off a snare, which is the absolute worst thing could possibly happen to you. My biggest one that made my opponent, sorry, Eric, like almost flip the table was he roll. I had 2 damage in the pool. I had 2 different damage sides. He rolls the Vader, gets double blanks, and I played it will all be mine for 1. So I flipped his Vader dice and resolved him into
Okay, well, I mean, that's living outside of reality.
But I think decks like that A can resolve Vader's die. And that play a high. That deck plays a ton of removal and tricks. Like I think that could really mess with it. I think that's one of the reasons why. What's the deck? It's a yellow hero card that lets you resolve your opponent's die, as if
Bravado.
Yeah. Again,
there's a similar one for the villains called Paid Off. You actually have to give them 2 resources to do it, which is not only paying 2 resources, but giving your opponent 2 resources is a lot. But you can resolve their die, and the key on Vader, right, is if you resolve their die, he can't power action it back in.
You didn't remove it.
If you play a card like Reversal, where it is remove and then deal damage equal to the showing, they can actually power action back in.
I Am Your Father was a really interesting card where I was too caught, and again I was playing Pop Blue, so it was free for me. And then I said, okay, I'm gonna.
And you can only play 1 of each card, so you have to go dig deep.
But I hit his. He had a 4-for-1 showing, and I had money because I played it for free. And I'm like, I'm gonna resolve that die, or you can discard your entire hand, which means he can't like do his Vader thing. So I'm not saying that deck is the answer to Vader. It's not, but things like it that resolve Vader's dice, and also it runs a heavy removal package. Nasty removal at that. So I mean,
and that was a perfect thing to bring up because you actually inadvertently got to my next point.
Okay.
So,
hey,
perfect. We had to save everybody time in our life.
right.
So, all right. Is there anything else you want to add about Vader? I mean, I think we kind of put this one into the ground. I mean, look, Vader's very good. He's also very counterable, I think, as long as you tech against him. But I think it requires smart play on both sides.
Yeah, it's not. That deck does not play itself. Like there are some meaningful decisions, and I think one of the most meaningful ones is when do you sack your minion? Like when do you play the price of failure? I've seen players do it turn 1, and it's been wicked effective because your opponent's exhausted.
It's wicked effective if you roll well, right? Because by that I mean let's not forget that price of failure is a card from your hand, and you've probably already played 2 from your hand at that point. So. Anyway.
So yeah, no, I think it. I like you said it perfectly. It's counterable, it's fair, but it's very powerful.
Yeah, but Vader's a real thing. He's going to be a real thing. I still want somebody to kind of strike hard with that red version. I think the red version's good.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a Friends in High Places. I'll give you that, but
I feel like that's Derek's deck. Like I think if Derek was still playing, like it would be Vader in a red character.
Yeah, so Derek's deck back in the day, and actually not even really that back in the day, was Mace Windu Rebel Trooper, and he was very effective with that deck. And I can see a lot of the same things happening.
I hated that deck.
Thank goodness there's no my ally is not the Force, it's the dark side, or whatever version of my ally is the Force, because that ripped people up. So anyway, I think that about does it. So what do you got coming up this week in Destiny, Mike?
So the time off is now passed. So we have our number. We're just going to standard
progressive seal.
No. Standard Monday is standard because we talked about our regionals coming up. So we really want to make sure we get some good testing in. So I think I'm down to about 3 different deck choices, which is much. I was at like 9 a week ago, and I'm down to about 3. One of the things we're going to do as a group is probably really focus in on a couple and start as a group putting those through the gauntlet and helping each other play them face up or heads up so that we can learn from each other and because we will most likely be playing those decks against those decks as well.
Yeah. So you know what's going to happen in the regional? You know who's going to get put at first round? Me and Mike.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, 87 people, and we're gonna get paired with each other. That would be awful.
No, so that's. Let's go ahead and we'll go over our time. Sorry, guys, we try to keep it to 35.
We're so close.
We're a little over.
All right.
We originally, as our playtest group, thought that Jin Cassian was going to kind of be the way to go, and how wrong we were. To be fair, you guys know I'm red, yellow hero. Like, that's kind of my jam, but I don't think that deck's got it right now in the current meta. I think that deck's super strong, but
I watched Sarah play that deck on Saturday.
She's a good player.
With not the, like, she doesn't have all the cards.
No, that's my point.
Yeah.
She does very well with that deck. So Sarah came in late, has not bought anything in black. So she owns no Awakening, or very little Awakenings. We've given her some cards, but she owns very little Awakenings, no second chances, and she still does pretty good with that
No
deck.
hyperspace jumps. Like, she has no hyperspace jumps.
No jumps. She does have. I hooked her up with the retreat. She has a surgical strike. She has some field medics and stuff, but none of like the big hitters, because I don't have 3 second chances to give people.
Right, and I watched the way she played it, which is different than I originally played it, and was like, this isn't working, I'm out. Right, because it was like, this doesn't work, because it wasn't the way I wanted to play the deck. I watched her play it as a much more MILF focused deck than I was originally playing it, and then she was running that battlefield. What is that battlefield? The one where...
I don't know. It's like landing dock or something like that.
Yeah,
but when your opponent plays a support or an upgrade, they chuck a card.
Oh my gosh. It was like that...
Right, Mike, you're about 3 months late to the party.
Yeah, sorry, man. I missed... Well, I moved on from Jin Cassian. as soon as I got wrecked with Jin Cassian, like, after playing it a few times, I moved on. And she kind of opened my eyes to that deck a little bit. So I don't think it's going to be one of our core decks.
I think it's good against Vader.
Yeah, I'd say that's true.
Yes. To bring us back to our point, but anyway, my point was 2 months ago, whenever it was, we thought we had the answer
immediately,
and we don't have the answer.
But I think we're getting close.
But isn't that kind of a statement of how good, like, things are really good right now in Destiny? Like, Han Kira was the big winner from the weekend. Yeah. Like, what?
Yeah. You young guys who haven't been, and ladies, they haven't been around since the beginning. You've never had it so good, like, as you have it right now. Like, this is an amazing time to be a Destiny player.
Come on, man! At one point, there were like 9 different versions of FN. It's cool.
Oh God.
No. So anyway, I think that's pretty much it. So we're going back to actually standard at Monday Night Dice, which is huge, because that means I can actually record some videos from Monday Night Dice.
Yes, enjoy those.
Because nobody cares about the progressive standard.
Enjoy.
We have a lot of fun with it, but evidently you guys don't. Yeah. So, which is completely fair. So,
what do you got going on this week?
Just gone guy, and got to go back to work because the holidays are over.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of slow down the videos a little bit, but other than that,
good.
I think that's pretty much it. So, anything else to add?
Go Commando.
Go Commando.